The Galactic Academy was not a normal school. It was built on a moon, far away from Earth. Its halls were tall, shining with alien lights, filled with young students from many powerful races. Some had claws, some had armored skin, and some had wings. They all came here to learn about strategy, science, and survival. Among them, one student stood out, not because of strength, but because of weakness. His name was Alex Carter, a Terran from Earth. To the aliens, humans were strange creatures. They had no sharp claws, no natural armor, no venom, no wings. Compared to others, humans looked fragile, soft, and harmless. And so, whenever Alex walked through the halls, whispers followed him. "That is the human," one reptilian student hissed. "So small. So weak. Why is he even here?" Another laughed, her wings folding with pride. Alex heard them, but he did not answer. He kept his head down, carrying his books, walking quietly. His silence made them laugh more. On this day, the teacher, an old alien scholar with silver eyes, entered the hall. The class went silent. His voice echoed. "Today, you face your first real test. The simulation beast." The room filled with excitement. Some students bared their teeth, others flexed their claws. They all wanted to prove their strength. The simulation beast was a challenge used for centuries. It was not alive, but a machine, created to mimic the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. It hunted, it roared, and it tested fear. The rule was simple: face it for 5 minutes, or run and fail. One by one, the aliens went inside the training chamber. The audience watched through a glass wall. The first, a warrior with heavy scales, lasted 4 minutes before retreating. The second, with wings, lasted 3 minutes. The third tried to fight but was thrown into the wall, barely surviving. The students cheered for each other, proud of their courage. Then, the teacher spoke again. "Next. Alex Carter, Terran student." The room went quiet, then filled with laughter. "The human. He will not last 10 seconds. Maybe the beast will not even notice him. He is too small to eat." Alex walked slowly to the chamber door. His face was calm, almost expressionless. He entered, and the door closed. Inside, the chamber turned dark. Red lights blinked. A low growl filled the air. The simulation beast appeared, tall, metallic, with glowing fangs and eyes like fire. From the glass wall, the alien students leaned closer. They expected the human to scream, to run, to beg for the door to open. But Alex only stood still. His eyes followed the beast's movements carefully. The beast roared and charged. And then, suddenly, alarms blared. The lights in the academy flickered. The simulation machine sparked and then stopped. But the growl did not stop. The ground shook. The walls vibrated. A new roar filled the corridors, deeper, heavier, more terrifying. The students gasped. "That sound, that is not the machine. No, that is real." The teacher's eyes widened. Something had gone wrong. A containment breach. From the lower levels of the academy, a predator had escaped. This was no simulation. This was a real monster. The sound grew louder. Metal tore. Doors broke. And then, the predator appeared in the hallway. It was massive, with black armored skin, claws like blades, and eyes glowing yellow in the dark. It was one of the deadliest species known in the sector. A creature that even warrior races avoided. Students screamed. Some ran, some froze. The so-called strongest species now trembled in fear. The predator roared again, shaking the walls, and leapt forward. Guards rushed to stop it, but the beast crushed them like toys. Weapons fired, but the shots only made it angrier. Panic spread across the academy. Students scrambled for safety. The once proud warriors now fought to hide. And in the middle of the chaos, stood Alex, the weak human. The boy who had no claws, no armor, no wings. But he was not running. He was watching. His eyes were sharp, focused, Not with fear, but with something else. The predator's gaze fell on him. The students gasped. The human. He will be the first to die. But Alex did not move. Instead, a faint smile touched his lips. The chapter of weakness had ended. Something far more dangerous was about to begin. The predator stepped into the academy hall like a shadow of death. Its claws scraped the floor, sending sparks into the air. Its mouth opened wide, filled with sharp, jagged teeth, glowing with saliva that burned like acid. Its yellow eyes scanned the crowd, and every student felt the weight of that gaze. This was no simulation. This was real. And everyone knew it. The first to react was a warrior species student named Krakner. His body was covered in thick scales, strong as stone. He roared in defiance and charged, claws raised high. The predator did not even move aside. With one strike of its massive arm, it sent Krakner flying across the hall. His armored body slammed into the wall with a crack. He slid down, coughing, defeated in a single moment. The crowd gasped. That was our strongest fighter. Another alien, this one tall with wings, lifted herself into the air. She flew fast, her claws aiming for the beast's eyes. For a brief moment, it seemed like she might succeed. But the predator twisted its head, snapped its jaws, and caught her wing in its teeth. With a sickening crunch, she fell screaming to the ground. The screams echoed in the hall. Panic spread like fire. Students ran in every direction, their voices filled with terror. Run! Hide! Get away from it! The predator moved forward slowly, step by step, as if enjoying the fear. It was a hunter, and hunters loved when their prey was weak. Guards arrived, carrying plasma rifles. They shouted commands, lined up, and fired. Bright beams of energy filled the air, striking the predator's body. For a moment, hope rose. The students leaned forward, praying the monster would fall. But when the smoke cleared, the predator still stood. The blasts had burned its skin, but instead of slowing down, it only roared louder, the sound shaking the academy walls. Then it leapt. One guard was torn apart instantly. Another was thrown across the room like a broken doll. The rest scattered in panic. Their weapons fell silent. The students who once mocked humans were now trembling in fear. Some hid behind broken chairs. Others covered their faces, praying the beast would not see them. Their voices whispered, weak and desperate. It cannot be stopped. It is too strong. We are going to die. And in the middle of this chaos, stood Alex. The Terran did not scream. He did not run. His heart was racing, yes, but his eyes were steady. He watched carefully, studying the predator's movements, its rhythm, the way it attacked, the way it paused before striking. Aliens noticed him standing still. Why is he not moving? One hissed. He is frozen with fear, another whispered. Yes, the weak human will be the first to be eaten. But they were wrong. Alex was not frozen with fear. He was thinking. His mind replayed memories of Earth, of hunting trips with his grandfather, of camping in forests where wolves howled at night, of reading about how humans survived against lions, bears, and creatures larger and stronger than themselves. Humans had always been fragile, yes, but fragility forced them to adapt. It forced them to use their brain, their creativity, their teamwork. Here in the academy, surrounded by species with natural weapons, Alex was seen as the weakest. But right now, in this chaos, their natural weapons had failed them. Their claws, their wings, their scales, none of it mattered. The only thing that mattered was the will to fight smart. The predator roared again, smashing through another guard. The sound shook the students to their core. Some of the strongest races, who once laughed at Alex, now cried out in panic, begging for help. And Alex, the quiet human, slowly clenched his fists. For the first time, a small voice whispered among the students. Look, he is not afraid. They were right. Alex's fear was there, deep inside, but it did not control him. Instead, it sharpened his focus. Fear, after all, was something humans had lived with for millions of years. They had learned not to escape it, but to use it. The predator's eyes locked on him now. It sniffed the air, sensing something different. It saw claws, scales, wings. It had crushed them all. But the human standing before it was calm, still, ready. The crowd held its breath. The predator growled, preparing to strike. And Alex whispered to himself, too quiet for others to hear. Time to show them why humans survive. The predator crouched low, its muscles tense, ready to strike. The students watching from behind the shattered glass whispered in fear. It will kill the human first. He cannot even fight back. But Alex Carter did not run. He took a slow step backward, his eyes never leaving the monster. Every movement was calm, measured. He was not frozen in fear, he was planning. On Earth, Alex had always been different. While others in his neighborhood played games, he had chosen books on survival, history, and tactics. He remembered his grandfather's words, humans are weak alone. But we survive because we think. We survive because we adapt. And now, in this alien academy, with a predator tearing through warriors far stronger than him, those words finally came alive. Alex scanned the wrecked hall. The predator had smashed tables, broken walls, and left metal rods scattered across the floor. Sparks flickered from damaged lights. Among the chaos, Alex spotted what he needed, a long piece of torn wiring, a bent metal rod, and a heavy chunk of fallen ceiling panel. He moved quickly, his steps light and quiet. The predator noticed, its eyes narrowing. It stalked after him, claws scraping against the floor. The students gasped. He is not running away. What is he doing? Alex knelt, his fingers tying the wire around the metal rod. His hands moved fast, steady, as if he had done this 1,000 times before. The predator roared, charging forward. Its massive body crashed through broken chairs, shaking the ground. But at the last moment, Alex rolled to the side, avoiding the strike. The beast's claws missed him by inches, tearing deep scars into the metal wall. Alex's breathing was heavy, but his eyes were sharp. He gripped the wired rod tightly. The aliens expected him to run again, but instead, he threw the rod at a loose ceiling panel above the predator. The panel crashed down, slamming onto the beast's back. It roared in rage, stumbling but not falling. Still, the sudden attack bought Alex precious seconds. The students watching were stunned. He made a trap. Humans? They plan in battle? Alex's mind raced. He knew the predator was too strong to fight head-on. Strength was useless here. What he needed was patience and timing. He grabbed another broken piece of metal, sharper this time. His movements were not wild like the alien warriors before him. They had charged with pride, relying on raw power. Alex relied on something else, strategy. The predator lunged again, its fangs snapping close to his face. Alex dove under its arm, rolling across the floor. He swung the sharp metal upward, cutting across the beast's leg. The wound was shallow, but it made the predator stumble, howling in anger. For the first time, the alien students saw something shocking. The predator bled. And it was the human who had drawn that blood. Whispers spread like fire. The human hurt it. He is fighting it, really fighting it. The predator roared louder, its fury growing. It slammed its tail against the floor, sending dust into the air. Its glowing eyes locked on Alex with burning hatred. But Alex only tightened his grip on the next piece of debris. His body was tired, his muscles strained, but his mind remained calm. He thought of Earth again, of how humans once hunted animals much larger than themselves with nothing but stones, sticks, and fire. He thought of how fragile humans had survived ice ages, deserts, and storms while stronger beasts vanished forever. This predator was terrifying, but it was not invincible. The creature charged one final time, jaws wide open. The students screamed, some even turned away, certain they would see the human torn apart. But Alex was ready. He sidestepped, forcing the predator to slam into the wall. As it staggered, Alex threw the wired debris he had prepared earlier. The wire wrapped around the beast's claw, tangling it. Using every ounce of strength, Alex pulled the wire tight, yanking the predator off balance. Then, using the broken ceiling panel as leverage, he pushed with all his might. The predator crashed to the floor, its massive body shaking the ground. Dust and smoke filled the hall. When the air cleared, the sight stunned everyone. The predator was down. And standing over it, chest heaving but eyes sharp, was the human. Alex Carter. The weak Terran. He had survived where others had failed. The students stared in silence, their fear replaced with shock and disbelief. The human brought it down. He trapped it. Like prey. Alex wiped the sweat from his forehead, his voice calm but steady. You called humans weak. But weakness teaches us to fight smarter. Weakness teaches us to survive. The predator struggled weakly under the wire, but Alex tightened the hold, refusing to let go. His determination shone brighter than any natural weapon. And for the first time, the alien students began to wonder if perhaps they had been wrong all along. The predator lay on the floor, thrashing wildly. Its claws scraped against the metal ground, sparks flying, its roar shaking the academy walls. The wires Alex had tied dug deeper into its limbs, keeping it tangled. But it was still alive, still dangerous. The alien students stared in disbelief. Their strongest had fallen within seconds. Guards had been crushed like insects. Yet the fragile human, the one they mocked, had brought the predator down. But Alex knew it was not over. If the creature broke free, the slaughter would begin again. He needed to end it, now. Sweat dripped down his face. His arms ached from the effort, but he pulled the wires tighter, forcing the beast against the wall. Its growls turned into furious screeches. Alex's teeth clenched. Every muscle in his body screamed in pain, but he refused to let go. Behind the shattered glass, students whispered. He is holding it down? That thing destroyed warriors, and the human has trapped it? No. This is impossible. The predator thrashed harder, its tail smashing a pillar into rubble. Dust clouded the hall, choking the air. Still, Alex held on, his boots digging into the floor as he pulled with every ounce of strength. For a moment, the hall went silent except for the sound of struggle, human will against alien monster. Finally, with a heavy thud, the predator collapsed fully. Its body shook once, twice, then went still. Alex did not celebrate. He did not raise his arms in victory. He simply released a shaky breath, his chest rising and falling. He checked the wires again, making sure the creature could not rise. Only then did he straighten himself. He looked around. The hall was filled with shattered metal, smoke, and terrified faces. Hundreds of alien eyes were locked on him. Eyes that once saw him as weak, now staring at him in stunned silence. Slowly, Alex grabbed the predator by its horned head. His hands slipped against the rough scales, but he tightened his grip. With a grunt, he began to drag the beast across the broken floor. The sight froze everyone. The human, the smallest, the weakest, was dragging a predator that had terrified them all. Step by step, Alex pulled the massive body, leaving a trail of dust and broken tiles behind him. His arms shook, his legs trembled, but his eyes stayed focused. The students whispered, their voices trembling. No, no way. He is carrying it. This cannot be real. Even the teacher, the silver-eyed scholar who had seen countless battles, felt his chest tighten. His voice was low, almost reverent. A Terran, dragging a predator. Every alien who had ever mocked Alex now stared in silence. Their pride, their strength, their courage, all shattered by the quiet determination of a human. As Alex dragged the beast into the central hall, the guards who survived stepped aside, giving him a path. No one dared to stop him. No one even dared to speak. The sound of the predator's heavy body scraping against the floor echoed louder than any voice. When he finally reached the center, Alex let go. The predator's body slumped forward, motionless. Alex stood above it, his chest rising and falling heavily. He was exhausted, his arms burning, his legs weak, but he stood tall. He looked around at the alien students. Their faces were pale, their bodies trembling. They had seen strength before. They had seen warriors, weapons, and battles. But this was different. This was survival. Alex's voice was calm, but it carried through the hall like thunder. You said humans are weak. That we do not belong here. That we have no claws, no armor, no wings. He pointed down at the predator's body. Then tell me, who among you dragged this creature into the hall? Silence. Not a single student spoke. Alex's eyes narrowed, his voice steady. Humans are not strong because of our bodies. We are strong because we refuse to give up. We are strong because we survive. The words cut through the room like a blade. The same students who once laughed at him now lowered their eyes. Some clenched their fists in shame. Others simply stared, unable to process what they had witnessed. The teacher finally spoke, his voice filled with awe. Lesson 1, Class. Never underestimate a Terran. For a moment, there was no laughter, no mockery, no whispers. Only silence. Silence filled with the weight of realization. The weak human had proven something no one could deny. And as Alex stood there, sweaty, battered, but unbroken, a thought began to grow in the minds of every alien student watching him. If one Terran student could drag a predator that terrified us all, what would an army of Terrans do? The hall was silent. Dust hung in the air like smoke, and the predator lay motionless at the center, a reminder of what had just happened. Students could barely breathe, their hearts still racing from the fear and the shock. Alex Carter stood above the defeated creature, his chest rising and falling heavily. His arms ached, his legs trembled, but his eyes were steady. For the first time in the Academy's history, every student, from the strongest warrior to the smallest scholar, was completely silent. He looked around at their faces. Wide eyes, slack jaws, trembling hands. The same students who had laughed at him, who had whispered, "Humans are weak," now stared in disbelief. Alex's voice broke the silence, calm but powerful. You said humans are weak. That we have no strength, no armor, no weapons. That we do not belong here. He paused, letting the words sink in. The students could not look away. Their own pride had failed them, they had relied on power alone, and it had been useless. Alex gestured at the predator. Look at this creature. It terrified you, crushed your strongest warriors, and you thought it could not be stopped. But it was not impossible. It only took strategy, patience, and determination. It took humans. The teacher, the silver-eyed scholar, stepped forward, his voice low, but full of respect. Terran students, you have shown us the meaning of survival. Strength is not in size or weapons. It is in courage, in creativity, in the will to endure. The aliens looked at each other, shame and awe mixed in their expressions. Some lowered their heads, some clenched their fists in disbelief. They had underestimated humans their entire lives. One of the strongest warriors, a towering alien named Bracther, finally spoke. I laughed at you. I thought you were weak. But I was wrong. Terrans, you are not weak. Alex shook his head slightly, tired but composed. It is not just me, he said. It is every human. We survive because we adapt. We survive because we never give up. You see strength in claws, in wings, in armor, but true strength is something more. It is survival. A murmur spread across the hall. Students began to understand, slowly, the lesson Alex had shown with action, not words. He knelt slightly and looked at the predator. Even as it struggled faintly, he held it steady. This creature, it is powerful, terrifying, unstoppable if you look only at its strength. But it is not smarter than a human mind. Not faster than a Terran's determination. We may look weak, but weakness teaches us to think. Weakness teaches us to survive. The silence that followed was almost holy. The students felt the weight of history in that hall. They had witnessed something no one would forget. Finally, the teacher spoke again, raising his voice so all could hear. Lesson complete. Terrans are not weak. Never underestimate them. Today, one student showed us more strength than all of you combined. Remember this, always. Alex straightened, his body exhausted, but his expression calm. He looked at the aliens and said one final thing. If you think humans are weak, just wait. You have no idea what we can do when we fight together. Today, it was one human. Tomorrow, it could be thousands. The room went silent again, but now it was filled with awe instead of fear. The Predator, once a symbol of terror, now lay defeated. And Alex Carter, the human everyone had mocked, became a symbol of what true strength really was. Students whispered among themselves, eyes wide. We judged them too soon. They survived. They adapted. They are not weak. Even the strongest among them could not deny it. Humans were not warriors by natural weapon or size. They were survivors. And survivors were dangerous. Alex stepped back, his body tired but proud. He had proven more than skill. He had proven a truth that would echo through the academy for generations. Humans might look weak, fragile, and small. But their minds, their courage, and their will to survive made them unstoppable. And as the students looked on, a new respect grew in their hearts. A respect that would never fade. The lesson was clear. Not strength. Not weapons. Not size. Survival. Adaptation. Courage. Humans were not weak. And the galaxy would never forget it.